Hi everybody, Nathan Ronen, CFA here with another update on the CFA Level III essays. So if you're a Level 3 candidate and you want to know how to succeed on the essay portion of the Level 3 exam, this is probably the video you've been waiting for. Before I start with this update, if you'd like to receive these updates every week or every other week when I put them up, please press the subscribe button and the confirmation button right now so that you know when they are posted. Okay, one of the questions I get all the time from Level 3 candidates, whether they're taking the exam for the first time, second time, third time, or even more. Yeah, I've seen Level 3 candidates taking the Level 3 exam 5 times. And it's very painful to see that. And one of the questions that they always ask is, Nathan, I don't know, I go into the exam. I mean, I know the material. There's no doubt I know the material. But somehow I'm just not passing this exam. And I think it's because of the essays. And I don't know why, because the essays aren't that difficult. I write down the answers. I'm pretty sure they're right, but it shows me somehow that I scored very low on those parts when I get my results back. Now, the last time I took the exam, I actually got much closer to the minimum passing score, so I think I was just 1 or 2 points away from passing. Well, let me explain it this way. Number one, there's nobody that just doesn't pass the exam because of 1 point or 2 points. I'm not going to get into all the specifics about that, but this is the guideline I'll give you. If you failed the exam, you failed with flying colors. And if you passed the exam, you didn't just barely pass, you passed with flying colors. There's no, if I got one little question more right or one little question more wrong, I would have failed. Because there's a buffer area that the Board of Governors are going to review to determine whether you should pass or fail if you're on the borderline. But let's not get into that. Let's focus on how to actually resolve this issue that you might be having with the essays. You're absolutely right. And this comes from a lot of experience here, having graded Level 3 candidates of mine, their mock exams for 27 years now. And that is that people do put answers down. And of course, they believe that their answers are correct. And many times their answers are correct answers, or they are relevant from the curriculum, but they're not either addressing the question or they're not what the graders are looking for. And you will never know this. You know why you'll never know this? Because your exams are not returned to you. They're not showing you how many points were deducted, how many points were given. It's not showing what the issues were. So you're operating in the dark, but so are all candidates. So what can I do to illustrate this to you as a Level 3 candidate so that you better understand what I'm talking about? Let's say you have an essay on behavioral finance. Now, behavioral finance is a topic in 2023, but it's not a topic in 2024 for the Level 3 exam. But nonetheless, I think this will be helpful to illustrate what I'm trying to say, where people answer a question, think they got it right, can't understand why they would have gotten it wrong, and aren't giving any proof that they got it wrong. Let's say the behavioral concept essay, you get a little bit of a story about these two hypothetical people, let's say Green and Butler. Okay. And then the question asks you, within that 12-minute essay, one part asks you to classify, that's the key word there, classify both Green and Butler using the Baylard, Beal, and Kaiser 5-way models behavioral type. And then they actually ask you to also briefly justify your choices. Now, when you see that kind of compound essay where they're asking you to classify two people, Green and Butler, and they're asking you about a specific model, and they're asking you to justify your choices, you better really pay attention to those command words. That's a separate issue. But let's focus on how a candidate should answer that question. Well, if you would have answered that question saying that Green, for example, is an independent individualist, and Butler is a friendly follower, those are two types of personality types that are mentioned in the curriculum readings. And you would think, yeah, I nailed that question. You would have gotten 0. Do you know why you would have gotten 0? Because you were naming the personality types based on the wrong model. There's a 4-way model, a four-way model personality type that is mentioned in the curriculum readings, which is what we just mentioned: the friendly follower, the active accumulator, the independent individualist, the passive preserver, whatever they're called. And then there's the five-way Baylard-Beal-Kaiser model, which is what the essay was asking about. You were referring to the four-way model when they were specifically asking about the Baylard-Beal five-way model. And in the Baylard-Beal-Kaiser five-way model, they're not called those names. You have the celebrity, you have the adventurer, you have the guardian, you have the straight arrow, and you have the celebrity. Okay, I think I mentioned all five, but it doesn't matter. You have different names. If you use the wrong names, you're not going to get credit, even though you gave them relevant material from the readings, even though it could be said that one of them was whatever, the independent individualist. It doesn't matter. You were using the wrong model. So you got to make sure that when you're writing your answers, number one, you are really answering the question that's being asked. You're not just giving material from the books that you know is right because it's in the books, but it actually has to be addressed to the exact essay that's being asked. That's why I always tell my candidates, read the essay question very carefully, ask yourself, what is the question asking me to do? And then ask yourself, right before you start writing, am I addressing all parts of the question? So for example, if you just say that Green is an adventurer, let's say Green is an adventurer and Butler is the guardian, that's great. You're going to get 1 point for identifying the adventurer, 1 point for the guardian for Butler, but then you didn't briefly justify your choices. You have to briefly justify your choices, not based on the definition in the curriculum reading about what an adventurer is or what a guardian is, because that's not what it's asking you. You now have to justify that Green is an adventurer and cite specific information from the case or the story that you're given on the exam, in the passage. That's what you need to do. And then you need to do the same thing for Butler to justify them being a guardian. So in other words, if this essay that I just mentioned about classifying Green and Butler using the Baylard, Beal, and Kaiser five-way model, and then just briefly justifying your choices is 4 points, let's say, out of the whole 12 points in the essay, then you're going to get 1 point for identifying Butler correct, 1 point for identifying Green correctly, and then 1 point for your justifications for each. And your justifications are going to have to be based on the case and tying it in to being an adventurer or tying it in to being a guardian, and not just defining what an adventurer or guardian is based on the curriculum readings. If you do that, you're only going to get 2 points for identifying adventurer and guardian, and you're going to get 2 out of 4 points. Well, 2 out of 4 points is not passing that part of the essay question. So that's why it's very important to understand to answer the exact question that you're being asked. And the best technique I can give you is read the question, pause for a second, make sure you've outlined in your head what it's actually asking you and what you need to do, and focusing on the command words so that you don't miss any of the command words, and that you're always tying in information from the case to justify your responses. That's the best way to get the full or maximum credit. What happens is, again, a lot of candidates will maybe get the names right, adventurer and guardian, and then they will not discuss it based on the facts in the case. They'll just give me a definition from the readings themselves in the curriculum. That's not going to get you the full points. And then the other type of candidate will think they answered it correctly, but will use the wrong model and cite the friendly follower or the active accumulator or the passive preserver or the independent individual as the four-way model. So be careful how you answer the questions. Again, if you think that you can use help in understanding the essays, I highly recommend that you do my on-demand essay writing exams. I will grade them for you. I will show you what you're doing wrong. You'll get feedback. It's not self-grading, has limited benefit. And just because somebody tells you in an answer key, give yourself 2 points or 1 point for this, you might be overly generous or you might be overly critical of your own answers and not grading them correctly. So if you'd like to do one of my or all of my mock exams, you can go on chalkandboard.org, chalk and board, CHALK and AND, board, BOARD.org. You can do any of the 3 mock exams on demand. It comes with with me going over each essay and also timing you. and then you will submit your essays. I will grade them for you in 24 to 48 hours, and you'll see what you're doing wrong, and you'll see why many times you think you've got the answer correct, but you didn't get full credit. And I will disclose that to you, why, and you will see improvement on exam day. Okay? Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you found this helpful.